And there's psychology behind it, right? Like it's the idea of adaptation. Like once you upgrade, it's very hard to downgrade. Nearly
Yes.
impossible to downgrade, right? So like as soon as you upgrade, that's the new floor that you're setting. It's so hard to break through that and make adjustments, right? And again, going back to the social comparison aspect, social media influence, every year we just expect more and more comfort and convenience.
Welcome to Money Dates, the podcast that makes money conversations with your partner feel a little less taboo. I'm Natalie Slagle, a certified financial planner, and I'm joined by my husband and business partner, Dan Slagle, also a certified financial planner. Say hi, Dan.
Hello.
In each episode, we'll share honest stories and practical tips to help you and your partner feel more connected and confident on your financial journey. So grab your drink, get comfortable, and join us for our Money Dates. Welcome back,
hey,
Dan. Hello. Wow, we're excited to be here.
Jinx, you owe me a soda. Remember yesterday we were at the park and there was a little
Una.
girl at the park.
Her name was Una.
Her name was Una, which is, I don't think I've heard that name before. It's a really cool name. Una was asking us what our daughter's name was. And then she asked you what your name was. And then she asked what my name was. And we both said my name at the same time. And she like laughed and she was like, ha ha, you said your name at the same time, Jinx.
Yeah.
And then that's when you were like, now I owe you a soda. And I was thinking like, do kids still say that?
Is that still a thing? Jinx, you owe me a soda. And we don't really drink soda anymore. So it's kind of if you owe me a soda, well, obviously it's got to be a Diet Coke. That would be fabulous if, I was like, Dan, go get me a Diet Coke. I want it on my desk because I jinxed you.
Do you feel like there are things that you've learned in the 1.5 years of being a parent where you're like, oh, maybe that's not okay anymore? And that was one of those things that it just like, as we said, you owe me a soda. I immediately thought to myself, is that okay to say still?
Why would it not be? It just might be dated in a way of like, nobody says that anymore. You're uncool.
Of course. But you never know. Like there's been efforts to reduce like vending machines in schools. I was just curious because I'm just so out of touch, I feel like, with reality of what a child goes through.
Well, we will soon find out once our daughter is at that age where you just know all these things and it's talking nonstop. Una was a lovely person. Dan, today I'm excited for this topic. We talk about inflation and expenses with our clients quite a bit. And this feels like a topic where what's that saying? It's like you got to like look into the mirror, or you got to kind of face your own reality and stop pointing fingers.
A little self-reflection.
Yeah, because inflation, yes, it's there and it hurts. And I know a lot of us see it in our grocery spending. Although I don't believe, and I know now, because I looked up some data in anticipation of this episode, that inflation is not the problem. Our expectations are. AKA, we're the problem, Dan. And so we're going to hone in on that today.
Well, what stemmed this conversation? I feel like recently you and I, over the past, let's say 2-3 months, we've been really looking at the household budget that we use to keep track of our expenses, and not so much from like the fixed expense, right? Like rent, automatic bills, right? And by the way, we'll put in the show notes. We do have a worksheet available on our website to help manage cash flow, which is exactly what we use and follow. And I'll talk about here in a second. So we've been looking at our discretionary expenses, right? So our variable bucket where no one likes to keep track of, right? So we're talking about groceries, clothing, trips, gas, you name it.
Restaurants, yes.
Restaurants, thank you. Yes. Some big ticket items. Also within our budget, we have a miscellaneous category, and that miscellaneous category gets spent, I feel like, in a matter of a week.
Yeah.
The variable bucket or discretionary spending, the parameter we've given ourselves, let's just be frank, it's $3,000 a month. I personally feel like it's been $3,000 a month for like the last 5 years, which doesn't account for inflation, which is the topic of today's conversation, inflation and managing our expectations. Regardless, $3,000 a month now with a 1.5-year-old, we overspend on that category every single month.
Yes.
Some months it's close. Other months, like the month we just had, we were going for a walk the other day and you were like, how did we do on our spending? And I was like, yeah, we'll probably be like $1,400 over. And you were just, I feel like that pissed you off so much.
It did piss me off.
It was that much over our category. And remember, we're 2 certified financial planners, right? We're supposed to spend within our means all the time. Well, truth be told, that doesn't always happen. Case in point, last month, we were $1,400 over budget. You and I always give ourselves some wiggle room, some grace to say, okay, if we're over a couple $100, that's fine. I feel like 14 definitely crossed that threshold for you.
It absolutely did. And Dan, that was a miscommunication on both of our parts. When were we $500 over? Why didn't we talk about that? When were we $1,000 over? Why weren't we talking about that? So I got frustrated because it felt like there were opportunities for us to get to certain thresholds and say, hey, we're going to overspend this month. Is this okay? Can we afford? Where is that extra money going to come from? And that's where I get frustrated because I'm the one that goes in and pays off all the credit cards. And it's not like the money just appears from nowhere. It has to come from something, which usually means we're not going to be able to save as much, which right now we're trying to save as much as we can. And so even if the money is there, I have to navigate where it's coming from. And it just irks me because it doesn't go to plan. And I'm a planner and I like it when things go to plan.
What are you going to do though? Even if we had that conversation 7 days in advance of that walk that we took, where I just dropped the bombshell of how much we overspent, what are you not going to go to the grocery store and buy groceries for our child?
That would not be the option. You know that.
Okay.
There's so many things that we purchase that I could hold off. And we've done this before. And I think this is what was happening before I had you take over, kind of recording our expenses, is I would say, oh, we're getting really tight. I know we need toilet paper, paper towels. And I would be that person that says, well, we have 2 toilet paper rolls. So technically we could probably go another few days without. And I would make those stupid little decisions to do everything I can to mitigate the bleeding that I felt like was happening.
You literally just told our viewers that if you knew that information 7 days in advance, that you would not buy toilet paper for our home.
If we still had a couple rolls left, I'd be like, use the rolls, people, and no guests over because they'll use our toilet paper. No, I'm just kidding. But I would seriously, there's just so many things you purchase that you don't need to have that day. You don't need to have it. And I think that's kind of a mindset thing, though. I can easily go into scarcity mindset and just act like that when we don't have the financial situation where I need to have a household lacking toilet paper. Fortunately, that's just not what we need to have. But what came out of that discussion is we need to communicate more about where we're at with our spending. And what you had communicated, which you've been trying to communicate to me for a while now, is we need to increase this bucket. We have been at 3,000 for a long time. Even before we had our daughter, this bucket of money that we said, okay, we can spend this in a month. It's been at 3,000 for too long. You haven't accounted for inflation. So
that's what I said to you. That's what I said to you.
It is true. Since we've had our daughter, we have not increased in diapers, wipes. And I think the big thing, because some people could be listening to this and they're like, well, what about daycare? Because your daughter goes to daycare. And we separate. So this is what Dan was talking about. We have this whole kind of cash flow management system. It's a worksheet. It's free. It's on our website. Just go grab it. We separate our bills. So everything we know that's going to happen, all of that, the daycare, the rent, the life insurance policies, the auto insurance, like all of that is in our bills account. Okay, so that's different. This is our spending. This is just the Amazon purchases, the groceries like Dan was talking about. So the bills account has increased significantly. And I have all the data. I can't wait to share it. The bills account has increased significantly. The spending account has kind of been all over the place. So, Dan, what would you like me to talk about first? Our bills account and what that has looked like over the years, or our spending account?
This feels like a trap. This feels like a trap. Let's go spending.
Okay.
I think spending, because that's the biggest issue that we are personally dealing with from a personal cash flow standpoint.
Yes. So spending this year, see, there's all these caveats to how we do things. So technically our spending right now, Dan, is closer. I kind of did averages and I included what we send to like our Dan and Natalie account. So all in spending right now is actually $3,800. Okay. Do you want to know what it was in 2018 when we first moved to Portland? We were making good money. We, obviously didn't have a kid. What do you think it was, our all-in spending? It's $3,800 now. What do you think it was in 2018?
Okay, 7 years ago, no child, 2018. Is this what our limit was or what we were actually spending?
Kind of more of our limit.
Okay, our limit then was probably $2,500.
It was $3,000. $3,000.
In 2018, it was $3,000.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, we must have been living good. And so it went from $3,000 to then it was $2,000 for 3 years straight. And that was because that's when we first started our firm and we made negative money and then we made no money and then we started making money. So it was at $2,000. And then between 2022 and today, it's gone from about $3,000 to $3,800. So if we get rid of the 2018 year and we start counting from 2019, when it started at 2,000, we have increased on average about 13% per year in our spending, which is higher than inflation. So not only have we kept up with inflation,
and hold on, and you need to throw in the outliers of 3 years of when we were basically making no income and starting our business. So it doesn't feel like a fair representation to include those three in this stat.
Well, you can't cherry pick the stats, Dan. That's not how this works. What I'm saying is the theme of this is inflation isn't the problem. It's us. It's our expectations. And then I was looking at that spending. The spending's a little funky because we had an amazing year in 2018 where being able to spend, what did we spend our money on? I think that's when we went out to eat almost like every other night, it seems like. So the spending, even with that, we have increased our spending by about 13% every single year since 2019. And, it's like, that's average, right? So
full disclaimer, Natalie did not tell me any of these stats before this conversation. So I might develop some feelings as you continue sharing.
I like it. So I want to, let's see it, Dan. I want you to get defensive. I want you to blame, cherry pick. Okay. So that's that.
Cherry pick and then everything. So that spending, what about bills? Do you want to talk about bills next?
Yes, but I have to say this number because of spending before I talk about this number on the bills. So our spending has gone up 90% since whatever year I was talking about. Since 2019, it has gone up 90%. Okay.
How?
13% per year.
So
here he goes.
I'm just curious if the variable bucket was the same as what it is in 2025, that's a 0% increase. So you're telling me our spending has gone up 90% solely based on the bills then?
Since 2019. No. So in 2019, our spending was 2,000. So it's gone up 90%.
Oh, but you
okay, maybe now I'm cherry picking.
Hold on. You started the stat at 2018 when income was relatively similar. And then you cherry picked to find a lower income year when we were more conscious of our spending.
Yep. Fine. Okay. If we use 3,000, which 3,000 from 2018, that is a growth of 27% total, which is, how many years is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So our spending since 2018 has increased in total 27%, which is a 3.3% increase. Oh, that's different numbers.
That's big. Those are big changes. I win this argument. Just kidding. Anyways, go to the bills, because I think you had some stats on bills too.
Okay, so the bills back in 2018, let's just paint the parameters. Today, for our bills, this is rent, daycare, all our insurances, just the things that you have to pay for, your bills. Today, we send $8,000 a month to pay for all those things. In 2018, this is when we had a mortgage. So before we sold everything and moved in with my mom for cheap rent. In 2018, our bills was $2,700 a month. Now it's $8,000 a month. So our bills account has increased since 2018, 193% on average.
That one I believe.
Yeah.
That one I believe.
Because our mortgage was next to nothing. We didn't have daycare. We didn't have an auto loan. So back then we didn't have an auto loan, and now we do have an auto loan. So even if our spending isn't going up a lot, where it has been going up a lot is our bills. And those are all choices we've been making along the way. We have chosen to live in whatever the word is. We have selected to live in Portland, Oregon, which is a much more expensive place than Rochester, Minnesota, the place we lived when we launched our business. It's more expensive than St. Paul, Minnesota, where we owned our first home. So that is a choice that we have made. And I feel like sometimes we look at the bills, and this is our clients too. You look at your mortgage or your rent, and you kind of feel like those are all forced things, but the spending is where you can control. Well, that's not really the case. You're choosing what kind of place you're going to live in, where you're going to live, what kind of childcare you're going to have, where that's going to be. And financially speaking, these increases are okay because our income has increased, our net worth has increased. So I'm not trying to put blame on us, but I'm also trying to set the reality that we have seen a substantial increase in our bills account, way above what inflation has set.
I'm just digesting this, just as all of you are on the spot. So is inflation the problem, or are expectations the problem?
Our expectations are the problem. And I don't want to use problem here. I don't believe you and I are in a problematic situation. I do believe we have continued to make choices that make our lifestyle more expensive. And we do need to be mindful at what point do we reevaluate things.
Reevaluate everything. My goodness. Spending.
I didn't say everything.
3%. Well, maybe I'm saying everything. You just dropped this bombshell on me. I mean, let's take it back a little bit, right? We need to define inflation and expectations.
Okay,
first off. So inflation, the increase in prices, we're all experiencing it, as we have just shared. Expectations, what we believe our lifestyle should be able to afford, right? Even in the conversation of you and I talking about comparing data from 2019 when we first started our business to 2025, our variable spend was $2,000 in 2019. This is pre-pandemic era. People recall that. And no income, basically, coming into our household. And we were still giving ourselves the grace to have $2,000 of discretionary spending. Whereas now, given what we make and are making, and we've shared that in previous podcasts, that even a $2,000 to a $3,000 doesn't seem to do it justice. But then those are my expectations around what I just said, what I believe our lifestyle should be able to afford now.
Yes. But again, we do have to consider the entire equation, in that we also had our bills significantly lower. And so our spending was $2,000 because we still had to have groceries, and we did everything we could to get our bills in 2019 to be as low as humanly possible. They were $885 a month. 885. Now they're 8,000 because it's just the reality. And I think going into this, you and I were both thinking about how it would feel really nice to increase our spending, this discretionary spending. And it could be, and maybe we could do that simply by just shifting what's happening in the bills account. And maybe we need to review what's happening over there, because you really, for any couple, you have to evaluate all of the outflow, not just one segment, not just your spending, not just your bills, what's happening collectively. And again, I don't think we're in a problematic situation. I think and know if the trend continued at the clip that it's going or it has gone on, that would be kind of devastating for us financially. So at some point, we need these numbers to level out, at least to a point that matches the increase in our income. That's what I have to say about that.
Right after this episode, I'm going right to our bills account and I'm looking at what's going on over there. Anyways, yeah, I think this is really helpful and something that we've been experiencing in recent conversations with clients a lot, right? Regardless if it's your fixed expenses or your bills or your spending or your variable, whatever you want to call it, you need to look at the picture as a whole. And life is just not getting any cheaper. That's the reality of the situation. Life is not getting any cheaper because inflation does exist. Prices are naturally going to continue to increase. However, I think you and I, and probably a lot of our clients also fall in the camp of, I'm working really hard right now. I have bills to pay. I have children to support. I want life to be easier. And when those are the things at play, life is going to become more expensive because your expectations are wanting it.
Yes. And the expectations on what is normal look a lot different for our generation than past generations. Just think about having a cleaner. So many of our clients and us have a cleaner. And now I tell clients, like, especially, our clients that are doing really well financially, and they're talking to me about their time. And if I look and I see they don't have a cleaner, I'm like, y'all got to get a cleaner. And it just seems so necessary for working parents. I don't know how other people do it. And that's the story I tell myself. Now, my mom or my dad might be like, well, we work just as hard as you. We didn't have a cleaner. And I, growing up in the household I grew up in, I always felt my home was fairly clean. So my parents were contributing a lot to that. I also remember vacuuming begrudgingly and not liking that. So I also contributed to the cleanly house. But what I'm saying is there's something to say about our expectations of what is necessary today looks different than what it did in previous generations.
Absolutely. I mean, you and I grew up on, I don't know what you grew up on, but I grew up on like Oscar Mayer bologna sandwiches with mustard and onion and Wonder Bread. Like, no discredit to my parents. And sometimes I still crave one of those sandwiches, but that's also like a culmination, super disgusting, a culmination of what they grew up on from past generations, right? So, and every generation is different. So if we shared this to our families or, the baby boomer generation, they could say they lived with a lot less and it was normal, right? But their sense of normalcy is so different than ours. If you and I grew up in their space, their surroundings, we'd call it like deprivation, right? Like we would not think it's okay. And what's interesting is like, it's a generational shift. Like that's how I view it. It's a generational shift because they didn't grow up in a world of like rapid tech expansion and social media followings and just overall the growth of wealth that we've seen within our generation, and having the presence of going back to even like social media, like all the people you follow online. I don't know who you follow online, but a lot of people follow like fashion influencers. There's just so much product that's being thrown out to us I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think that also leads into a little bit of like, you cannot be content at all times. You know what I'm saying? Like, even for me, as viewers, listeners know, like, I'm super into running.
Mm-hmm.
So literally my Instagram feed is just constantly, whether it's like a cool account I found, it's just like, here's the next new product. And immediately I get the dopamine hit or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, I got to get that pair of shoes because it's going to make me faster.
Yeah.
I got to get that shirt because I want to look cool when I run. And that is really hard. Like, I feel like so much of our generation has to goes through with that. And it's not even just for us. It's like you and I, as new parents now on our social media feeds, it's like, hey, here's this new, amazing Nordic style play place for your child that they're going to love. And you're like, I got to get that too. So, I don't mean to go on a tangent around like the things that we're having to deal with versus like what past generations had to deal with. But it absolutely is at play when we think about our expenses.
And when we think about how inundated we are with advertisements, and it takes that much more resiliency to evaluate, do I need this or do I not? And so maybe inflation isn't the problem, we're the problem, but we're also the problem because advertisements live in our pocket, advertisements live in our hand on our phone, and you can't go on any platform now without being advertised to. And at some point, when we put our daughter to bed and we're just on the couch and we're both scrolling, it's just, how do you not just be like, man, it's been a long day. I want to just purchase something and feel good about it. And I think that, not to give ourselves excuses here, but there's something to that it seems more of a battle that we have to endure compared to how it previously was. Even compared to, not even to previous generations, but when I think back to 2018, I don't think we were nearly as inundated as online advertisements as we are now.
Right. And there's psychology behind it, right? Like, it's the idea of adaptation. Like, once you upgrade, it's very hard to downgrade.
Yes.
Really impossible to downgrade, right? So like, as soon as you upgrade, that's the new floor that you're setting. It's so hard to break through that and make adjustments, right? And again, going back to the social comparison aspect, social media influence, every year we just expect more and more comfort and convenience, especially like in who we're working with, clients in their late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s, even. Like, we're entering like the peak earning years of our working profession, of our lifetime. And when you start to get communication around raises, new stock compensation, whatever it is, inheritances, you want to give a little more padding to yourself every single year, regardless of what spending has looked like in the past.
And that padding, even as we've seen it for ourselves, that padding tends to be more than what just inflation is. It's your mental reward for yourself above and beyond inflation.
Yeah. So like, how would you think about going, let's say in our example, we've been overspending. I want to blame inflation. You're like, after this, you're like, no, it's actually kind of my expectations. How would you like reset or think about it going forward?
I would say that we should increase our spending annually. And but we need to do it in a way that is also balancing what's happening on the bills side. Just the constant touching base of what is happening on both sides. Are we in agreement with the dollar amounts assigned and what changes should take place going into the new year, right? Like this episode is going to air towards the end of the year, and it's just a great time to evaluate what's been happening, what's working, and what's not. So I think, and this is why, and I don't think this week or maybe next week, you and I are sitting down for 2 hours on our calendar.
Next Friday at noon.
I cannot wait we are evaluating our business finances. We're evaluating our personal finances.
One might say we're having a money date.
Look at you. Yes, absolutely. We will have our money date. And that'll help us kind of evaluate and think about how do we look at 2026 and evaluate our spending and maybe not blame so much inflation, but also look a little bit inward too about our expectations around it all too.
That's really important, right? It's like just understand your expectations, reframe them for going forward, right? Like reframe less as maybe enough, right? Like rather than using the word less, it's just, I have enough. Keeping track of expenses, like doing what we're doing next Friday and literally getting prepared for 2026 and saying, where do we need to cut back or where can we improve or make improvement as a household? And then I think we should also be thinking about creating like unique markers of success going forward. Maybe it's not material, right? It's more experiences, stability, time, right? Like what are these expenses, these inflationary expenses? Like how are they truly impacting us? Is it worth it? And just analyzing it that way.
Yeah, that makes me think of our time yesterday. We making it all come full circle when we were at the park with this dear Una. I was so happy. We walked to this park, and this was the second time we were at a park that day. And earlier in the day, we went to a different park, also just a walk away. And I was feeling so grateful that we were in a place where we could have the time and energy and health and all of the things that what it takes for you to be able to walk to not only one great park, but two great parks. And that, it costs money to live here. That's one thing. And beyond that, it was a pretty inexpensive day in itself. And that made me very happy.
Let's round it out. I think, inflation after this conversation, well, you and I are going to have a lot to talk about after this conversation. I'm excited. Mm-hmm. I feel like inflation changes the numbers, right? But like our expectations can change, like our peace of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to continue this conversation offline with you, Daniel Slagle.
Can't wait, Natalie Slagle.
All right. See you next time.
Bye. Hey, if you've enjoyed this episode and are looking for personalized financial guidance, schedule a free complimentary consultation using the link in the description below. Natalie and Dan Slagle are the founding partners of Fuse Financial Planning, a registered investment advisor. The information provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered investment advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any securities. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Advisory services are offered to clients or prospective clients where Fuse Financial Planning and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. For more information, including our disclosures, please visit our website at www.fusefinancial.com.